Hello and welcome to Drew Manchu's Comic Book Reviews. I'm your host, Drew Manchu, and today we're going to be taking a look at Powers of X, number 3.
Previously on X-Men.
Okay guys, so far we've gotten a huge dose of reincarnation, time travel, and retcons, and a handful of suicide missions. First, the Chimera mutants sacrifice themselves for the past in order to retrieve their info about Nimrod and the details about the Mother Mold and Orcus. And then our beloved X-Men strike team when they took out the Mother Mold in House of X number 4 and sacrificed themselves for the future. Martyrs all around. Back in the time-hopping Powers of 10 this week, we get more setup in the past, more lore, and a look into the far-flung future. Powers of X number 4 opens with Magneto and Xavier seeking an audience with Nathaniel Essex. The Bar Sinister is populated with nothing but clones of Nathaniel Essex. The Essex on guard throws some shade at Magneto for his outfit and Xavier for being a sad little man in a peasant suit and a sad little chair, right before Magneto decides to strong-arm their way in to speak to the Essex in charge, who upon introduction immediately mentions how much he loves Magneto's cape, and he has his personal attendant, also an Essex, executed for not suggesting that he wear one. And it's at this point that I realize I'm in love with Jonathan Hickman's depiction of Mr. Sinister. With that out of the way, they get down to business. Xavier mentions Essex's interest in gene research and his mission to index the DNA of everyone on the planet, and they're here to petition him to focus on cataloging the mutant population, to keep a safeguarded, redundant, comprehensive database of all mutant DNA, and they even go as far as to offer him help in the collection of the data if he agrees. Essex is a hard sell, as he doesn't see the value in collecting mutant DNA. Magneto tells him that he has seen the future and that his cause will be mutantdom. But Essex replies that he, in the past, incorporated the mutant gene into his own perfect gene structure, and he did not care for the results. He continues explaining why until he's interrupted by having his head blown clean off. And the man holding the smoking gun is none other than the mutant gene-infused Essex, the Mr. Sinister we all know and love. He is all in, and Xavier explains that his next step is to get started and forget why he's doing it at all, until Xavier one day tells him to remember. We then jump to the recent past of the current House of X timeline, to the first time Cypher was introduced to Krakoa. Professor Charles Xavier brought him to the living mutant island in hopes of gaining a deeper understanding of Krakoa. He has developed a telepathic link with the island, but Cypher's powers of language and communication are much more nuanced and complex than the empathetic means of psychic conversation. Upon further communication, we get the origin of Krakoa in his own words. We were Akara, the One Land. Ancient before that word existed, but not yet old in the way that they were old. The twilight sword of the enemy tore the world asunder, and what was one became two, Arakko and Krakoa. And from the chasm between them, from whatever wicked place they came, the enemy poured into this world. If not for the man who was not a man, the first mutant, the warrior god in blue, the world would have fallen. But using all of his mighty powers, he stood in the gap, pushed Arakko through the chasm and set his four to sentinel that land, and sealed the chasm shut, never to be opened again. It was a thing that had to happen. It was. But Krakoa remains alone, a half, not whole, for now and forever. Xavier communicates his ambitions to Cypher psychically, knowing that his ability to talk with the island is the best chance that they have to bring Krakoa online as a base of operations, and Cypher gets to work. Flashing forward 1,000 years, the remnants of humanity, cybernetically tied to the world mind of Nimbus, seek ascendancy from the Phalanx. The Phalanx does not accept biological entities into its collective, so the Elder imprinted himself onto an empty host machine and offered it to the Phalanx as a workaround. Now they wait and see. The Phalanx finds their offering to be acceptable. Ascension, the building blocks of the Krakoan nation-state, and a deal with the devil. Powers of 10 number 4 is loaded with world building and setup leading into the third act of this two-title miniseries. Powers of 10 number 3 and House of X 3 and 4 were loaded with action. And while Powers of 10 number 4 leaves the superhero fights behind, it utilizes its time-hopping, multifocal approach to provide context and foreshadowing for the story yet to be told. I can't help but feel that Sinister's involvement will be as a long-term big bad in the future of Hickman's run, and that Krakoa's origin has way more to do with this story than most of what we know so far. It's nice to get back to the seeds, no pun intended, that Hickman planted in both House of X number 1 and Powers of 10 number 1. I'm still not 100% sure what is going on in year 1000 or how it figures into the big picture, but it has me interested in the future of this series to find out. Hickman meticulously plans out his stories, and it's certainly all connected, whether I see it yet or not. We're also treated to 2 infographics in this issue, the flowchart of communication systems that Cypher created on Krakoa, and a top 10 super secret rumors of Mr. Sinister that, while written as a gossip column, is loaded with foreshadowing for the future of our merry mutants. R.B. Silva's art continues to be top-notch in this series as well. Without the overwhelming action of the last few installments of this story, Silva gets to flex his muscles on beautiful Krakoan landscapes, multiple Mr. Sinister character designs, the larger-than-life scope of the Phalanx, and an epic flashback to Krakoa's origin. The book is gorgeous, and the Marte Gracia colors accentuate the fabulous line work and flesh out these worlds perfectly. I absolutely can't wait for the continuation of this series, and isn't that exactly what you want from serialized storytelling? Apocalypse is featured on the cover of House of X number 5 and also in the Krakoan origin story, so I'm really excited as to where that leads. I can't wait for more monologues about the survival of the fittest and Charles Xavier crossing moral lines in his own fight for survival. Even though it's mostly set up, I can't wait for this setup to play out. Hickman has us all in a steady info drip, and it feels like it's building to something epic. Flesh that out with breathtaking visuals from the likes of R.B. Silva, and you get near perfection in comic book form. Powers of 10 number 4 gets a 4 out of 5.
I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, give us a subscribe, and hit that notification bell. That way you know anytime the Comic Core is going live. Alternatively, if you'd like to support us monetarily, you can buy some of our Comic Core t-shirts. They're available on our TeePublic store. Click the link in the description below, or just go to the TeePublic website, type in Comic Core, and then shop till you drop. Do you have a hot date coming up? Maybe a job interview? We're putting up new designs all the time. You can check out this Drew Man Chew Bebe t-shirt. Impress your friends, your neighbors, and potential employers with your style. They're available in a plethora of different colors. Check the link in the description below.